Hi. Hi. Yeah, my name is Melanie. I am a French Canadian Prairies girl, and I'm happy to be here.
That is very,
Okay, I will jump right in. Hopefully I don't say too much. Um, so my writing journey is a long one. It I started writing in 2018. Uh, but the reason I started writing was because of something tragic that happened in 2015. So I was a teacher. This year I'm not a teacher. I'm working from home as an educational consultant. So I'm not actually in the classroom this year for the first time. Uh, I've been a principal for a few years, and before that I was in the classroom. And in 2015, one one normal school morning, I showed up at school very early and started prepping my day before the students arrived. And I noticed one of my 16-year-old students drive up to the school. It was 8 o'clock in the morning. It was an hour before school started, and I was wondering why he was there so early because there was really nothing, there were no activities that morning or anything. But his mom worked in the school, so I thought maybe he was coming to help her with something. And fast forward a few minutes, and that student had taken his life outside of the school. Yeah, he died by suicide right there. So what happened after that was kind of like what we see in the movies. Everything kind of slowed down, but also seemed to be going in fast speed. Um, we had students show up to the school off the bus not long after that, and his mother was there, and there was just a lot going on. And I, as the teacher and as one of the adults in the school, I didn't really have much choice but to just, power through and be strong for the students and the community. And that kind of became my way of dealing with things, was just let's be strong and get through this day and through the next day and through the next day. And I started to become very hyper aware of how my students were feeling. I would try to notice what they were, telling me and not telling me, and, what signs I was seeing through their body language and what I might have been missing. And that kind of became my kind of just the norm for me, was to be hyper aware how my other students were doing, because I wanted to make sure their mental health was in check and that they were doing okay, and not just okay because of the tragedy that we had all experienced, but okay, years later, because I kept teaching in the same school. Um, and I bottled everything in. I didn't let myself process what had happened. I would kind of think about it and then try to ignore it, and I would think about it again, because there were ups and downs, and harder days than other days. And but there was a lot of uh, kind of avoidance. No, I wasn't processing what had happened until a few years later, when a similar tragedy happened in my community, and I was forced to face uh, that tragedy. And I not only forced, but I almost decided that I was going to embrace it this time, and I was going to do the hard work of making sense of this unfortunate and tragic event. So I started to write, and my writing it was not a book to start off with. It was just a journal. So I had my journal. I would wake up before work, start writing things. I would write lots of positive stuff. I didn't talk about, I wasn't writing about the suicides or anything like that. I just wrote gratitude things and dreams that I had and goals that I had. And eventually I decided that while that was very good for me and it was good at keeping me grounded, uh, I wanted to do something creative with that time. So I would take my laptop to the corner of my couch, and I would start to write. and I was writing to my students. Uh, and I never intended for anyone to see it. It was very private. I was really just writing things that I would want them to know. I had a lot of students come to me for, just conversation or advice, or just to vent about things. And I uh, I would use my writing in the morning, that time in the morning, to uh, uh, kind of not plan, but kind of have develop an idea of what I would want them to know, so that it made sense to me, so that I can transmit, these ideas to my students. And fast forward an entire year, it was an entire year of writing. I eventually had something long enough to be a book, and I would get this thought in my head, like, you should publish this book, and then I would ignore it. And then I would come back, you should publish this book, and then I would ignore it. And I did that for a while because I was scared. That is the truth. Like, I it's a scary thing to put something so personal out there. Uh, but eventually that thought got so loud, that whisper got so loud, that I knew I needed to jump in. And so I did, but it was years later. I decided to publish in 2019, and it only hit the shelves in 2023, in August of this year. So it was a long process, but it was an important process. I think I had to grow a lot through that process. So the book is not about suicide. There is a chapter on mental health, but what I did is I chose 14 topics that a lot of teenagers, 14 challenges that a lot of teenagers go through. So there's everything from body image issues, there's bullying and friendships and relationships, and sexuality, and I do have the mental health chapter, which is the really the heartbeat of my book, because that's kind of what inspired the writing in the first place. Uh, and other interesting subjects that I think a lot of teenagers can relate to. And every chapter has a part one, which is a story, and then a part two, which is kind of a conversation with me. I tried to keep the book very simple. I didn't want it to be a bunch of statistics and research. I wanted it to be really a conversation for teenagers, especially teenage girls, because the book is geared towards girls specifically. The characters in my book, they're all girls, um, going through the hard things. And yeah, and that's what is out there now, is kind of a 14 chapter. I don't want to call it a guide, because it's really not. I suppose you can call it a guide, but it's not. I didn't want it to be a step by step, oh, you're going through this hard thing, do this. It's not like that. I want teenagers to pick it up. They can jump to whatever chapter calls to them. If they are struggling with, let's say, friendships in that moment, or maybe they're struggling with their mental health, I would hope that they would jump to that chapter, just to try to get as much as they can from that chapter, as much as they need in that moment. But the rest of the chapters are all very, you know, important, even if you're not going through that, just because there's a lot to learn about dealing with hard things. And maybe you have a friend who's going through a hard thing, and that maybe that chapter makes you think of them, or maybe your sibling, or someone you work with is going through hard things. And it's it's a conversation so that teenagers don't feel alone in the first place, and feel empowered to get through those hard things. We will go through hard things. Everyone does. Like, that is life. So it's not how to get rid of the hard things. It's not how to avoid hard things. It's really how to become strong through those hard things, and not be afraid to fail throughout those hard things, because we'll stumble, and there's a lot to figure out when we're going through those challenges. And I guess that's the point of those challenges, is to make us stronger. So yeah, sorry, I said a lot there. Hmm. Yeah.
I had
Yeah.
a question related to that too. Like back in your teaching days, you said that after the kind of incident, you looked out for your students more, you were more aware of their mental health. Do you think it would change a lot if more teachers were to do this, if more teachers were to be hyper aware of the students' mental health too?
Oh, that is a good question. I think in my situation, it was a little bit, it was a lot, and it was taxing on me. Like it asked a lot from me to be that hyper aware. And I think I learned eventually, like through therapy and read my writing, I learned to kind of dial it down a little bit. But I do think that just the fact that we're having this conversation, this is just an example. We are able to say the word suicide, and we're able to talk about mental health like this. I think that is the most important. Not everybody can talk about it because we don't talk about it enough, and it, we're not comfortable talking about it because we don't talk about it enough. So I think um, teachers and adults, and you are both 15 years old, but you will eventually be adults. You'll eventually be the ones maybe looking out for other people. The fact that you're able to talk about it now, because it is a conversation that you're comfortable having, will make you an adult who might be more aware. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes sense, but I think uh, the fact that I went through that has made me more comfortable talking about it. And I think by me talking about it, I might inspire other people to be able to talk about it. Do you know what I mean?
So, yeah, for sure. So, do you think the conversation has become more open towards mental health since 2015? Like, have we made progress in that kind of sense?
I think we have. I would like to think that we have. Is there a lot of work to do? Yes, absolutely. I think we are lacking resources in the first place. That is one thing we as a society we struggle with. We don't have enough resources right now to deal with the number of mental health cases that we have, because we are in, and lots of experts will say this right now, we are in a mental health crisis, a post COVID, and not even just post COVID, but post COVID. And I think technology has a lot to do with it too. Our young people are vulnerable right now, being on screens and being on social media as much as some kids are. I think it does have an impact on our mental health, and our mental health resources can't keep up. Our mental health professionals can't keep up. So, yes, I think we might talk about it more. Maybe, I'm assuming, I would like to think so, but we still have a lot of work to do.
Interesting.
Hmm.
Hmm.
Hmm. Yeah.
A lot of people don't want to admit it because they're afraid of sounding like their grandparents saying like, "Oh, it's that phone, it's the phone's issue." But I think we really need to like confront the fact that like, yeah, that is social media. That is what it's doing to you. So do you have any advice kind of in that regard to like self-image, to social media and things like that?
Yes, I actually have a chapter on social media, and I forget what I called it. All my chapters start with I am sick of being bullied. I am ugly. So this one I think is I something about social media, I forget. But the chapter on social media I really, really like, just because I don't, social media is here to stay, and our technology is here to stay. So in my book, in that chapter, I don't mention the fact that we should get rid of it, because we can't. Like we that is what we have now, and it's not going to disappear. But what I would hope is that eventually, with time, our younger people who are getting exposed to social media and technology at an earlier age, I'm hoping they'll be able to develop that critical thinking that they need to have, navigate social media in a healthy way. So, what I encourage my readers to do in the social media chapter is to be aware of how they're feeling when they're scrolling through their social media. Because I am guilty of this too, and I am an adult, and I like to think that I make good decisions most of the time, but I will scroll through Instagram, or I have had TikTok on my phone. I don't have it now, but I've had TikTok on my phone, and you can easily get lost in reels and stories and everything for hours. And so I did have TikTok. I ended up deleting it, but only because I did not feel good. It didn't make me feel good. It didn't make me feel like I was doing anything productive. It made me feel like I was comparing myself to others because you're getting bombarded with very short videos. So you can go through hundreds of videos in a very short amount of time, and that might not feel good. So I encourage the readers to just be aware. Is there an account you follow or a person you follow and who doesn't make you feel good? Maybe, like think about that. Do they make you feel good? Do they inspire you to be better? Do they make you feel like you are less important or less that you are inferior? You have to be aware of that so you can kind of control. We are the only ones who can control what we're exposing ourselves to. So I think it takes lots of awareness and lots of maturity too. Um, so yeah, I don't recommend to my readers that we just get rid of it, but just to kind of set yourself up so that you're not getting triggered as you're scrolling, or you know feeling um, yeah, less valuable and uh, less important as you're scrolling through social media. So yeah,
Would you
I
say
hope
these
that answers the question.
oh,
Pardon?
would you say these concepts apply to like friends too, like people you know in person as well? I know a lot
Yeah,
of people brought up this similar kind of idea.
yes, for sure. That is such a good question. Uh, I do have a chapter on friendships too. That's so funny that you asked that. So, friendships are tricky, especially as a teenager. And we social teenagers are social beings. They are you're at that age where it's important to kind of find your place, and you do that by socializing and figuring out where you fit in. And a lot of teenagers will uh, there's a difference between fitting in and belonging. So they'll do what they can to fit into a group, but that is not the same as belonging to a group. Because if you belong to a group, you don't have to change anything. You belong, and you feel like you belong, and you feel accepted in that group. But if you have to change your morals, if you have to change the way you dress and you don't feel comfortable with that, if you have to change the way you're acting or how you talk or how you treat people just to be a part of a group, that isn't necessarily belonging to a group. It is really like you're assimilating to that group and you have to change who you are. And that might feel exciting for a bit. It might feel exciting to feel like you're accepted in that group, but eventually that is going to wear on you because you are so far from who you are meant to be and who you feel comfortable being. So in my friendship chapter, I do talk about the importance of surrounding yourself with people who make you feel like you belong, make you feel accepted, and um, you shouldn't have to change who you are. You should be able to walk into that group and say, hey, this is who I am, and feel like that is 100% okay. And that is not an easy thing to do. It's way easier said than done, but it is important if you want to stay true to yourself. And if you stay true to yourself, that's when you'll be able to you just live in this world differently when you feel like you're grounded and you're being true to who you are. Everything will just be better. But it is a struggle for teenagers. It is definitely something that is hard to learn, and especially because there's this pressure to find your place right now, like find, don't be the one that's excluded. Like that's scary. Being alone is scary, but it's also very scary to be part of a group that makes you a person you're not. So it's called Why Me What Now. So the reason I called it that is it's in two parts. So when we go through a hard thing, whatever hard thing, there are, well, I like to think that there are two ways to react, and how you react to that hard thing will pretty much decide, you know, how you navigate that hard thing and how you get through it and how who you become after going through that hard thing. So the why me is, it kind of represents that like initial like, oh, this really sucks, like why is this happening to me? And then the what now is kind of that second question hopefully we're asking is, okay, this hard thing is happening to me. I'm going through this hard season and it really, really sucks right now. But deep breath, what now? What control do I have? What decisions do I have to make get through this hard thing? What lessons am I learning? What mistakes will I make? Because there might be mistakes. There probably will be because we all make mistakes and that's okay. Uh, but the what now represents how I hope we all think of those hard things. Like what am I going to do? Like what am I able to control in this hard thing and what now? So that's why the title is that. Why me, what now? Yes,
like the
absolutely.
7 stages of denial, right? I mean, 8, where it starts with denial and then you have to start acceptance. So would you say it's like a
Yes.
lot of mindset? Is it mostly a mindset thing to get over grief?
Oh, 100%. Mindset to get over anything, to get through anything. Mindset is so important. And I was lucky enough at probably your age, 15 years old. My mom made us watch a show called The Secret. I don't know if you're familiar with it. Have you heard of that? The Secret. It's a
Okay, wait.
documentary. So at 15 years old, my mom uh, said she's watching this show and she asked us if we wanted to watch with her, and we all watched with her. And this show is all about, it really is all about mindset and how your thoughts become your reality, and you need to be aware of your thoughts, and that's what you have control over is your thoughts, because that your thoughts will affect how you react to things. And anyway, so I watched this movie with my mom and my entire family. I'm sure we watched it, and it really impacted me. Like I still live today like I should, like what that movie teaches me to live like. And it's all about being mindful of your mindset and how you're thinking about things. So I really, really try to live a life as positively as possible. And that being said, I am not like we all go through hard seasons. And when I say seasons, I'm not talking, winter, spring, fall. I'm talking about sometimes it's a hard week, sometimes it's a hard month, sometimes we have a hard year. And I am human and I go through hard seasons too. Uh, but I try my best to control my thoughts and to control my mindset in everything I do. So I was lucky at 15 to have been kind of exposed to that idea. And if you watch the movie, it will change your life. Like it is so, there's a movie and there's books and everything. Like it's a very popular movie. And uh I've been able to control pretty much everything that happens in my life because of how I mind my mindset. So yes, mindset is 100% like how you, whatever your mindset is how you're going to get through this life. So if you decide that you are going to notice all of the bad things happening, if you're going to focus on that. Like if you take the bus in the morning and someone stole your the seat in your spot on the bus, it's very frustrating, right? You start your morning off really badly. So you have two choices. You can focus on it and maybe you stay frustrated and then you get to school and you tell your best friend like, hey, that guy stole my spot. So now you're reliving those emotions and then later on your teacher asks you how you're going, how you're doing, and you say, oh, that guy stole my spot and I'm so frustrated. So now you're reliving it again. And then you get home and you tell your mom, that guy stole my spot, and then you're reliving it again. Like, you are deciding, you're making that decision to live that emotion over and over and over and over again. It is not helping you. It's not helping you. Yes,
Awesome.
yes. Well, I think the movie is called The Secret, and I think it should not be a secret. Like I think everyone should should watch it, I mean, and try their best to live it. Because yeah, you do have a choice. You have a choice every time something happens to you. Are you gonna live in that, pity me state? Like, is that what you want? And that's okay if that's what you want, but that is the life that you're gonna live. You're choosing to live that life. But you have the choice to change that, and you can change it anytime, which is cool.
That's such great advice, Melanie. And our audience is mostly high schoolers. Do you have anything you want to say, like speaking directly to them? Any advice specifically for this age group?
Ooh, I have a lot. I have a whole book. So my biggest advice, so I don't know if I'll say this in the way that I really want to say it, but um, we we have what it takes to create a life that feels really good to us. Everyone has it. So we have thoughts. Like everyone has thoughts all the time. We have dreams. We have goals. We have ambitions. We have talents. Everyone has their own collection of amazing stuff. Like we all have our stuff. And at the same time, I feel like in teenagehood, we have all this greatness inside of us, but we also have all this pressure around us. And it's almost like we have to fight our way through it. So when I talk about pressure, I'm talking about peer pressure. I'm talking about pressure from our parents. I'm talking about pressure from our teachers. We have pressure. We have people trying to tell us what's good and what's not good and how to do things and how not to do things. And you need to do this and it's very hard to stay um, focused on what makes us feel good. But we all have what it takes to figure out what makes us feel good. It's all related to our talents and our ambitions and those thoughts, like those. Um, when you think about in a year from now, what kind of person do I want to be? If you stop and really, really think about it, like what kind of person do I want to be? Whatever comes to mind is unique to you. Like it is meant for you. And it's hard to cancel all the noise around us. It is so hard. And it's even hard as an adult. But what I would like teenagers to know is that they should trust themselves. They have everything they need. They have it. And it's hard to know how to navigate through that when you have all this noise around you telling you otherwise. Um, I was going to say something else. I forgot. Yeah. Yeah, we do. Like teenagers have so much pressure. I remember being a teenager and I remember never really feeling like I was okay, like 100% okay, like feeling awkward all the time, not really knowing who my true friends were, and then being so desperate to have a boyfriend, and because I thought that meant something, and struggling with acne all over my face, and all these hard things all at the same time, and it was so hard. Like I felt like I was bouncing around. Like if I don't feel like I was grounded ever as a teenager. Like I was really okay ever. It was such a weird time, and I wish someone would have told me like just take a deep breath and try to quiet the noise around you, and like you'll figure it out. It's there. You just have to give yourself the permission to figure that out, what it is for you. without, yeah. Yeah.
Anything else you'd like to plug while you're on here? Anything
I
else you need to
think
shout out?
I think that's it. If anyone wants to follow my Instagram and Facebook accounts, they are the same. It's just melody.author. And I will be doing more things than just the book, so you can keep an eye on that. And uh, yeah, and the book is available on Amazon worldwide, so anyone can grab that.
Well, I'm definitely excited to be keeping up with what you're going to do in the future. Thank you so much for taking
Awesome.
us.
Thank
We really
you.
appreciate it.